do what I was doing over there. And now I can do it again. And it's super exciting because it's a whole different level of learning for the students and a whole different level of teaching. Bringing in the community, making the kids understand that they have a connection with their community is such a big piece. And it's pretty awesome. I don't know what.
I can just add to that. This is a second career, a new career for me. I've been a teacher now for 2 years, and being connected to the community like this is great. It's really what brought me to LMS. I was at the high school last year, and this whole expeditionary piece was really, really spoke to me. And I've been really excited about using my past experience and bringing that into the classroom. So it's been great.
This is my second year in Lewiston, and just from last year to this year, the engagement of the kids on these expeditions is astronomical. They're so excited. Like when we went and took them to the wind farm this past fall, like for some of these kids, like this was the farthest they've ever gone from Lewiston. For some of our kids, this was the first time they ever saw a mountain. And it was just crazy to think about, like, we're also teaching them all these kinds of things that we weren't even intending to. And now our current expedition, we're actually taking our school and trying to make it more welcoming to our community. We've realized, like, there's a disconnect. A lot of our students come to us without speaking English. They don't know where the nurse is. They don't know where the library is. And we may have signs, but they can't read English yet. So we have our foundations kids working on that right now, and they're looking at, okay, well, when I first got here, what are the things that I needed to know? What are the things that my parents might need to know, and they don't speak English? So we're working on getting our school more welcoming to that and more inclusive, even like students who are transferring from another school district who maybe English is their native language, but they still don't know where to go. Like making sure that our school is an atmosphere where everyone feels welcome and they're learning so much about the different community members that we have. We took them to the Islamic Center and to Museum LA so that they could learn about the different cultures that represent Lewiston. And it's not just one-sided. So they're engaging, they're learning, they're exploring our community and what they can do to help make this a safer place, to make this more welcoming for everyone, and just seeing how excited they are to make that happen and how they see like, yeah, I'm a middle schooler, but my voice can be heard and I can make a difference is just something that learning out of a textbook just doesn't do. Like,
one thing I'd like to add is while these students actually present to you, I want you to remember that this is brand new to them. They've done one complete expedition and they're in their second one right now. And just the level of, I just don't even know how to explain it, of engagement, and they're so comfortable with doing this already. And we're only in our second one. I can't even imagine what's going to happen in years to come. Just the level of engagement, and they're just comfortable with their curriculum now. It's not just this curriculum, it's, wow, it means something to us, and you can tell. So I'm anxious for them to do this.
and I think even with the engagement part, like they're taking in so much more information and actually retaining it and realizing like what aspects of their life they can use that information for versus like here's some math problems, like when the heck are we ever going to use this? Like instead we're doing systems of equations right now and we're getting them to map different locations using these equations and using graphing of lines to help them with that, and they're like, oh, I can actually use this now.
And getting cross-curricular, so we're all working more together to create more hands-on learning for the kids. So
Yeah.
I teach science, she teaches math, and we came up with a great activity that would combine the two together.
Right.
So it's really been great.
Hello, my name is Michelle Burgoyne. I am an LMS expeditionary leader on our team, Voyager. I'm going to let the kids and the video speak for itself because they kind of talk about one of the expeditions, but just so that you know kind of the planning that goes behind it. Normally teams will meet together weekly, and one of them will be just about team things and one of them will be about just expeditions. And so right in the beginning you talk about what's your final product going to be, what's your kickoff, what's your unit, what's your standards that are going to align into the unit. And so you're thinking with your teachers, you're collaborating, you're saying, okay, can we hit science with this, or is it more of a supplemental this time? Is math really going to be involved in the culminating project, or are they going to give up class time so that we can kind of work on these projects together? And so there's always this sacrifice that's allowing for these expeditions to happen, and kind of working around all the curriculum that we also get done for district expectations, and we're still able to kind of put that all together and make these really quality pieces. So this is one of the quality pieces that we can kind of create, which is digital storytelling. You'll see two tonight. And we also just have a lot of formative things. So a big piece of this is not just a culminating project, but it's all the little steps along the way. And so literacy will have a text that kind of goes around. So we did Harnessing the Wind, which is a based on a book called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, which is based on a man in Malawi who had to drop out of school when he was a kid, and he basically went through starvation, all these things, these hard struggles, and built a windmill from a picture in a book, and the different things that he kind of tinkered with, and just followed his sort of dream and created wind energy so that his community never had to go through drought or famine again. So they're going to talk about that one particularly. We were able to visit Saddleback Mountain, so you're going to see some of that. We were able to also just connect. We piloted a program expedition last trimester in the spring, because when Mrs. Mates kind of like brought it to our school, we were saying, okay, we're so in this, we want to do this and we want to try it out. And we had a carbon footprint unit, and so we wanted to kind of piggyback off that unit. And so we talked a lot about climate change, we talked about climate refugees and why people are being displaced all around the world. And so some of the final products that I'm going to actually pass around to you at the end are a mixture of that carbon footprint and tracking their own footprint, what they're reducing and recycling, and then how those like math and literacy pieces kind of come in together, and then our wind unit, which really focused on climate change and the use of renewable resources. So we were also able to visit Geiger Brothers and their solar panels, so that's all sort of in the video. I hope that the sound quality is good for you. This was one of the first ones that we kind of just tested, and so some of the equipment that we were using, or the hallways and things like that, might make it a little bit of a strain to hear, but I think you'll get the gist of what the students were learning and the process that they went through. And just know that there's so much that is invested in the planning of this in terms of making everything work, and the teams really need to work together. The teachers need to be on board, and they are. They're just even as stressful as it is, and as crazy as sometimes our meetings are, the outcome and what we've been able to see the students really create and produce and how they're engaged makes it completely worth it. So it's not without its kind of that piloting stage, but it's definitely something that we're all invested in. Do I just press on the link? Okay. The other link.
Okay.
Oh. We should just go to the desktop. I think that'll play better.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were talking about how.
Hold on. I think it started playing before we pressed the play. There you go. Sorry about that. I'm so proud of my French student because he's presenting. So I love that he's my ELL student who jumped right into this.
Every teacher, every like subject, we do something different. With literacy, we were talking about how this boy William was struggling for his life. And so we were talking about what happened, how he survived, and what do we do.
The book I'm doing is about a boy named William Kumkumba who lived in Malawi, a small region in Africa. And like in his like where he lived, like they didn't have as much technology as like we did.
They went through the drought and famine and low resources all around that community. They didn't have electricity or very much of it anyways. I remember us all going in a group and talking about how different it was where William lived versus where we lived.
He was a smart kid, and he loved science. He was passionate about like how does energy work. He was talking about the AC and the negative and the positive. So like some people got confused. So we brought us a radio and we could see like what he was talking about.
He sees this book and he sees a windmill and how the windmill can make electricity, so he decides to build one, maybe even preventing the drought to cause a famine again in their village or community.
We've been learning about windmills and renewable energy sources and the effects it has on the climate and the world.
Global warming, climate change. We've been learning like what windmills are, how they work, what happens affects people, climate disease, climate change completely.
If you like using non-renewable energy, it will like turn fossil. Like we're technically using fossil fuels, which is gonna make greenhouse gases go into the air, and then climate change will occur, and we don't want that. Like maybe the next 10 years or 20 years, we'll be like we will not have enough fossil fuels. So the only thing that we can use is renewable energy, like windmills and solar panels.
We went to Saddleback Wind Farm. I liked seeing them in person. Like they're way bigger than I thought they would be. I would look up and I would get like dizzy because it was like spinning. It was cool to learn that after they go a certain speed, which was like 55 miles per hour, the blades will shift and it will stop the windmill.
First of all, it was windy and cold.
Windmills are bigger than you think. Way bigger. You don't really get like a full mental picture if you like standing right next to one. And it's like it's not as wide as you think it would be, but it's kinda like whoa.
And it's cool to learn that they needed to talk to the people of the community in order to build the windmills because some people don't like the noise it makes, but when we were there I didn't really hear any noise.
I think especially in the future, because like it takes 15 years for things to have a full effect, so we're getting effects of what used to happen like 50 years ago. So like what we're doing now will affect us later on, kind of ideal. Like, you know, how it will affect us when we're adults, essentially.
I've been liking in science class how we've been making the wind turbines ourselves. It's like hands-on and it's not just sitting around in class. It's just like something different than the normal day, and it's learning about something like that's actually happening right now. So that's what I like about it.
We were asked to build a windmill in science class. That was one of my favorite parts of this unit because we got to like create our own design of a windmill. We used our imaginations to build what we imagined our windmills, what they would look like.
I think the most important part that we learned about at Geiger was the solar panels that they have installed and how like much of a difference it was to them. And yes, it was really expensive to install those solar panels, but those will last for a really long time, and they're actually kind of weatherproof, and which is great because we get a lot of snow in Maine.
We also got to feel the effects of solar panels.
It was the first time to see the electric car, but like, it was very cool to see how the car works.
It makes you more like mindful about what you're doing and the planet and like what effects you're having on it.
It if we reduce fossil fuels, we could save people and save our Earth at the same time.
So at this point, I'm just going to pass around some of those formative projects while the other two come and speak, so you can just kind of pass it along. And this is Adam and Emily, and they're going to share about their experience with. And any others, or just Adam and Emily? Just Adam and Emily.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Adam Bilodeau,
And I'm Emily Bilodeau.
and today we're going to be talking about expeditionary learning. What is different about 7th grade expeditionary learning and 8th grade? 8th grade expeditionary learning is different from 7th grade because all the teachers' classes are connected and teaching the same topic, but last year some teachers were going at their own pace. Literacy, science, and social studies taught about wind power and windmills, and all the classes taught about the same topic. In literacy, we read a book called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, and it's about a boy that lived in Malawi, Africa, and needed electricity for his town. So he built a windmill that turned the blades of the windmill, and it generated electricity. In social studies, we learned where in the country we can build windmills and how many per square mile we can make. Also, we made our own windmill farm on a brochure. In science, we built windmills and tested them on a fan to see how much power it generated. How did these expeditions benefit you as a student? Those expeditions benefit me as a student because it made the school year a lot more organized. For instance, I felt like in this school year, since every class but math is based off the same topic, it is easier to follow along and learn because we are getting taught the same topic but different ways in each class. Also, we got to learn about our community in the immigration unit. We got to see what immigrants have made and built in our city and the history of Lewiston.
Our kickoff event. We did an Ellis Island kickoff where we got assigned a person's resume that included their age, job, gender, country origin, and why they came to America. Once we randomly got assigned to our immigrant, we tried to enter the United States. Some different rooms that we had to go to pass the expectations of going to America were interviews, where our teachers asked us questions like why we are coming to America and what country we came from, what our new job is going to be in America, and who we're bringing with. The next station was the medical, where they had to check for measles or mumps on your arm. They also had to check your heart rate to see if you had an infection in your eye or on your lungs. We also had the stair inspection, which you had to walk up 3 flights of stairs for exercise to see if you are capable of walking without limping. If you were breathing too heavily, you couldn't go to America because you weren't fit enough to go. Next, we had an information room, which was when we had to fill out a sheet, and it asked you when we were born, who our parents are, and what our job is in America. Next was baggage inspection, where the workers had to check your bag to see if you had anything sharp or any food in your bag. You were deported. After this, if you passed all the inspections, you and your family would take a picture at the kissing post because that was the point that you would accomplish going to America. Next, we did some field work. Some expeditions that we are going on outside of school property. On these expedition, we got to learn about our community and walk around our community. For instance, we hiked up Davis Mountain near Bates. We tested out mini windmills. While walking up the mountain, we had to decide where a good spot would be to put a windmill if it was real life. We also went onto the football field to see what the different conditions was between the flat area and a tall hill.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Anthony Giannetti, and I'm a 7th grade literacy teacher at Lewiston Middle School. So I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the things we've been doing, how we select mentor text, what it's like to work together as a team on an expedition, because it's a journey, it's a transformative experience. We're changed as teachers as well. But just to give a little student voice, I'm going to start off with a video from our students kind of talking a little bit about their expedition so far. We're about halfway through it, so they're still working on, they're still doing field work and working on their finished product. So without further ado.
In the beginning, we interviewed people to ask them what their rule to live by was.
And then it's really fun to learn about people and to learn about like how others do things, and especially the people around you when you're interviewing your own classmates. And then you get to see what they really do other than when you're at school.
And you learn that each person, every person is so different, and like each person has their own rule they live by.
Mine is definitely Jamal Parker. I enjoyed like kind of hearing how she wrote the book and like how much time and effort she really put into writing the book.
Usually books are about like made up stories, but this is like real life, like it's going on.
Yeah.
I like the nursing home because I don't know, I like old people. They're so nice.
One of the fingerprint one was like super cool because we put our fingerprint in like the stamp, and like there were different types like the leaf, and then there was the possum about animals and how there were like rules to live by for that. Like I like how it's about ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally it's like what the teacher picks, but we can like pick our own rule.
Expeditionary learning is a different kind of learning from normal class.
It's like it connects to stuff like that I've learned, and it's gonna be in real life. And it's not just something I'll use one time in life.
Learning about school and work is really good, but unless you have knowledge about like what you need to really do when you grow up and get older, that's really important to have too.
Every expeditionary learning gives something to each student.
It's fun. It's not like it's like just like a boring thing to do. It's like we're always doing something for it.
I really, really, really like expeditionary learning.
It's the best.
Yeah. Fun, and we get to hear people's stories. And they're so
You have to just give it a chance. You have to just be open to like what you're doing, stuff like that.
So those are as candid as responses as I think we can get. So just a little background. Everyone's expedition is just a little bit different, and ours are rules to live by. So we thought that instead of presenting them with rules that we live by, and they should as well, that they should kind of explore who they are and figure out what their rules to live by are for themselves. So we talked a little bit about, in the video, there's a reference to Ghost Boys as being their favorite book. And this was the mentor text we decided to go with for this expedition. There's a whole host of things I love about expeditionary learning, but a big part of it is we're not just teaching students content, but we're teaching them context. So we're showing them how all of it is interconnected and related, and you can't learn in isolation. So last year I came from a 3-person team, and I taught a humanities class and a humanities model. And we had 3 classrooms, and almost every single day, every single class, our doors were open because we were teaching co-taught units, or we were doing things in conjunction with one another. So this year is my first year at LMS. I'm on a 9-person team. So I said, how is this going to work? How are we going to create integrated units and work together? And that's kind of the expedition for teachers, because that camaraderie I had with a 3-person team, expeditionary learning, excuse me, it's been a very long first day back from break. But expeditionary learning allowed our team of teachers to build those relationships with one another, and we're genuinely excited about the work we're doing with each other and with our students, and that is picked up by our students. They see that we're working together, we're supporting each other, and they take that as a role model, and they really take it and run with it, and really start to work with each other in that same way. All right, so Ghost Boys, expeditionary learning means we're all doing various things to work together as a team to create this finished product. And one of the things I do for my team is I read all the time, and I'm a literacy teacher. So I've been the person who's been selecting mentor texts and thinking about how they relate. So for Rules to Live By, we decided to go with Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And it talks about kind of racial tension and racial bias and the issue of kind of police brutality and violence against young African American boys. So this was relevant to them. It had context, and it allowed us to talk about empathy because it follows both the police officer's family and the child's family. So it really humanizes both sides and gives the audience, who are our students, an opportunity to kind of reconcile and make their own judgments based on that experience. It's really cool. Oh, and Jewel Parker Rhodes. So this week, per student request, we are writing letters to people we admire, because I wrote a letter to Jewel Parker Rhodes and explained what we were doing and said, hey, would you speak with our students? She said, of course, I'm in San Diego, though, can I Skype in? So she actually spoke to our students after they read it and talked about the writing process and talked about her research and how she did like fact finding and double checking things. And she shared her own experiences. It was really quite a cool experience. And now she's so enthralled with what we're doing. Our final product, instead of posters, they're compiling their rules to live by in a book, and she asked for a copy to read kind of what they came to. So that is offering the students an authentic reason to write. It's low risk and high reward. So they feel like it's not connected to any classroom or a specific standard, so it's low risk for them. They don't feel like their entire grade for a class is hinging on this one project. And I've noticed that students are more engaged because it's low risk and it's something that they genuinely want to do. And our next expedition is Farm to Table. So we're going to be starting reading off the Omnivore's Dilemma. And our culminating project for our final expedition is we're just making a garden. So we're going to build the infrastructure to have fresh food at our school, and we're also going to allow the students an opportunity to build community with one another, just getting their hands dirty and figuring out where their food comes from.
And Ahmed, can I get you to come out? Can I get you to come out? Yeah. Mom is always right.
Okay, and for the last piece of our presentation, I have a couple students here from Team Denali, and I'm going to do the best I can to sum up kind of quickly what happened because we don't have any Denali teachers here. But through a gracious grant, LRTC has been supporting our expeditionary learning along the way with a high quality color printer that they gave us, so that when students make their final pieces, they're able to then showcase them. And so the two students, I'm going to let them introduce themselves and share a little bit about their expedition. But out of 128 students on Team Denali, the students did a voting process to pick out which students and posters and words to live by they thought were the most valuable. So I'm going to let them sort of speak for themselves about it. So, Ahmed, do you want to go first?
My name is Ahmed Abdul, and
You can read it if you want.
I just never give up because I just never give up I left the quote never give up because I always use those words on the track or soccer field and track or soccer field. They keep me motivated and positive on the field. Another reason why I chose never give up is because it's
supposed to say?
Anything you want? Do you want to? Have you ever made a poster before?
no.
So how did you learn how to make a poster?
First, I didn't know what I was doing because, like, I came to school and everyone was started on it, and then I started a little late. And then I had to, I had a rough draft, and, I had to choose my quote and the person who inspired me. And I chose Never Give Up, not because it was easy, because, I wanted to choose Never Give Up because I know a lot about it. And I chose Neymar because I've known him since since I started third grade. I've known him, and my brother got me into him, and he's a really good role model, and he never gave up. And what I did after the rough draft is I wrote it down on my computer, and it took time because I had to I rewrote almost a paragraph of my poster, and I had to make it look better, and I had to decorate it, but I didn't want to be too extra, so I just put a nice background, and I chose Neymar, and then my teacher just said put a soccer ball to make it look like to match the soccer player, and I was like, okay, and then I did.
Anything else you want to share? Did you ever think that you would make it into the top?
I didn't know I was gonna make it to top 10 because when I went outside, all I saw was that I was on 22nd place. I was like, I'm not gonna make it. And then when I got called down to the office this morning, I was surprised. At first, I thought I was in trouble, and then I wasn't. And then Miss May was just like, "You made it to the top 10, and I want you to present it to the Lewiston, Lewiston School Department." Yeah.
Thank you. So she just had her consults out over a little before vacation. So I'm going to turn this and then I'll turn it back around. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Isabella, and my rule to live by is appreciate what you have and never compare yourself with others. I chose this rule because you can never be happy if you're always comparing yourself with everyone. Throughout the past year, I've learned that I shouldn't compare myself with my friends because they don't have it any better than I do. We are all different in many ways. I often find that when you are comparing yourself with others, you are too busy worrying about them and don't take the time to actually realize what you have and appreciate it. You should always appreciate what you have before it becomes what you had. You never know what could happen because life is a mystery. So you should always think about how fortunate you are. No matter what, there's always something to appreciate and be thankful for. It could be as little as a smile or as big as a puppy. There's always something to appreciate in life no matter what happens. So don't worry about what other people have and take the time to think about what you have and appreciate it because trust me, it's worth it. And I chose my mom for my role model
because she always tells me this rule and reminds me about this rule when I'm having a hard time following it.
Do you want to share a little bit about sort of?
Yeah. So we had some speakers come in. And first we had this man, and he came into the auditorium. His name was Andrew Harris, and he spoke to us about what his rule to live by and how he tries to follow it every day. And then we had other people come into the classrooms individually, and there was a bunch of other people. The person that came into my classroom, her name was Mary Hunter, and she spoke about like her career and what her rules to live by are and how she always tries to follow it. So making the poster, we had to find a picture of ourselves that we liked and a picture of our role models, and we had to pick a background. So like Ahmed said, we had to first do a rough draft of our rule to live by and then our explanation of our rule to live by. And then we had to type it up and research more about why that's your rule to live by, and you have to explain why your role model is your role model.
And can you tell them in the top 25 what place you came in?
First place.
And I just wanted to save the last few minutes if you guys had any questions for either the students or the teachers that are here. So you guys might not be off the hook, but you can sit down if you're more comfortable.
So, Ms. Mates, do you see you trying to increase how much expeditionary learning is happening at the middle school? I mean, this is just a kind of a beginning phase, correct?
Yep. So right now, the middle school's on trimesters, and so each trimester, each team is completing an expedition. Like Michelle was sharing, we meet biweekly. Each team has 1 or 2 expeditionary leaders, which get a small stipend, which is not nearly enough money, but a little incentive for the extra time and energy they have for organizing. But it's also a time where we sort of reflect on the expeditions. I think as long as the momentum and the feedback is as positive as it is, yes, I would like to continue. We're still sort of in the infancy stages, even though it feels much bigger than that. First trimester, all of 7th grade did the same expedition outbreak, and all of 8th grade did harnessing the wind. This second trimester, they're varying a little bit, depending on sort of the comfort level of the team and what the interest and what they can bring to it. And then for 3rd trimester, we're sort of opening it up and letting teams pick their own expedition. Right now, they're anywhere to 5 to 8 weeks, depending on the comfort level, again, of the team, because it is kind of a step away from traditional learning, and that's sort of hard until you really see how it's going to play out. But yes, ultimately, like I said, as long as the teachers and the students keep having positive feedback, I definitely want to keep it going.
Anyone else?
So I have a child that's in 7th grade, so I hear about this. And you know how, as a parent, you ask your kids, what did you do in school today? Oh, math, reading, writing. That's, they never get into anything. But with this, we've actually had some conversations about what they're actually doing, and there's excitement there. So it is really exciting for us as parents to hear about these things as well. And so, good job.
Just wanted to say thank you for everyone for attending and participating in this workshop. I know this may seem like an expedition for a lot of you here today, but you did a very thorough job, and I appreciate the everything from the presentations, the speakers, the PowerPoint, the board here. I mean, this is extremely thorough, as well as the handouts that showed us the examples of what work was involved. I feel like I was definitely educated today, and it was inspiring to see it. So thank you for all the participation. I know this might seem a bit unusual for the students that are here, So I hope you make this an expedition at some point in learning how school government works as well. So thank you for being here.
Ms. Hutchinson.
So my question's real simple. Is that the Princess Brownie maker from the spring?
All right, thank you all very much. We'll take a few-minute recess here.